All right, I've made this multimedia in the web part 2, so there's a part 3 yet to come. This will be pretty much covering the content that you haven't looked at all in your projects. But you may find that you've covered it already. Is that going to work? Yep. When we're looking at text on the internet, it does have a big impact, because remember when I said some of the problems with multimedia products on the internet is we've got all these different platforms, all these different scenarios for the project to be shown. So what happened was we started with this idea of a true type font, which is common font types, and Apple and Microsoft made an agreement on these font types that would be common. So Times New Roman you'll find in just about every possible application you can think of. But then they also looked at open types, which were more scalable font types, and it gave it a bit more adaptability. That's pretty much the only information you needed to know there. Was other companies came in onto it, like Adobe, who had their font types and they wanted to start playing around with those. So you have these two types, a scalable font type, which changes according to what you're looking at it, and then the common font types, which are really sort of static ones. All this is embedded in it. Now remember, there was a solution to having this font problem. What was it? Yep.
Make it graphic.
Yeah, make the text a graphic. The moment you turn it into a graphic, it crosses a lot more platforms without an issue. So if you remember back to that presentation before, that was an option. The next part of the font area in terms of the web, when you're making a web page with HTML, you used to have to type in a lot of code to go, all right, now change to this type, this size, and then you end it, you do something different, then you have to go back again, type, okay, now change it back to this type again, and there's a few little embedded formatting options, but it was very cumbersome. So CSS was included in websites, and yeah, quite a few years now it's been used. And as you've probably already come across this, if you remember it from year 11, remember in year 11 I was throwing some year 12 stuff in there just so that when you come to it you go, oh yeah, I do know this. Cascading style sheets were sets of rules for fonts and layouts in websites. And I've given you an example there. So this is the rules for the body text. So you know in Word when you can choose heading, body, all those sorts of things at the top, it's like that, except it's customizable. So you can decide on, all right, anytime I choose body text, so all I'm picking is body in the formatting option, it will do this, color purple, background color, this hexadecimal number there. That's a color, by the way. So it made things a little easier to be consistent, so it maintains consistency, because whenever I type in body, it's not going to be slightly off if I get an error in font size. It avoids duplication. How do you think it avoids duplication? In what way is it avoiding duplication? I think you're typing it out. Remember I mentioned HTML. Okay, change font to this, change font to this size, end that part, change it to a different font size, now go back, change to the original font size.
So did you get this from
this little bit there? Yeah, you can get those.
It's
Yeah.
a colour, brown colour.
Yeah, no, that's actually the correct colour. All HTML and coding works on an American spelling.
That's annoying.
Yes, because America dominates the computing market. So in terms of the actual use of the word colour, you have to go C-O-L-O-R. Yeah, in all programming, in HTML, there'll be no O-U-R. So when we're saying avoids duplication, it means you don't have to keep doing things again. If you set these rules, you won't have to go over and do it again. It also makes maintenance easier. So if you decide, all right, my heading text needs to be changed. Imagine in HTML you have to go through all the HTML and change the code throughout it. With CSS, you just change the rule. You go, okay, nah, 14 is not big enough. Let's make it 16. And instantly, right across the whole website, it changes. And that's the point of the CSS rules. It just allows you to affect or maintain the website very quickly and change things. It also allows you to make site-wide changes, as I mentioned, in one place. So you go into the CSS rule, change that, whole website gets affected. Far more efficient, far more consistent, far more easy to maintain. This is the whole purpose to CSS. And I gave you that, just that little basic sample there of body text. That's the rule for body text. It's just arbitrary. You can make up your own. You could add font, what font type it is, what font size it is. All of these rules could be added to body. And so whenever you choose body for your formatting, instantly uses these rules. So those who are doing web pages, this is important. Web page navigation options, the hyperlink. What's a hyperlink?
An embedded URL.
Yep, it could be an embedded URL in a bit of text. I guess technically you could say a button's a hyperlink as well. So when you're saying URL, what does it do though? Why is it called a hyperlink? What's it allowing you to do?
You can click on it and navigate somewhere else.
Exactly. It allows you to take you straight to that area. Now, you could say it's a URL. Yes, it'll go to an external page, but it can also go to other areas on the one page. On this particular hyperlink, I made it a hyperlink, and I'll share the slideshows with you. So you'll be able to just look at this slideshow and click on the hyperlink, which will take you to a definition of hyperlink. And here we are. All right. That's one way of allowing navigation within websites. It's pretty unusual now to use hyperlinks other than references when you look at websites these days. Does anyone know why? Yeah, well that's why you use it, but why don't we use that blue underlined text hyperlink that much anymore?
Because it's not as visually appealing.
That's one. Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's another good reason too.
They can easily make a search themselves.
Yeah, that's probably not quite what I'm looking for. Yep.
You can use buttons instead.
You can use buttons, but why would you choose a button over the hyperlink is probably the question.
Clearer.
You're right. You're right.
It's clearer.
If you tried to click on a hyperlink with one of these, with a smart device, you've got to enlarge it, find it, make sure you actually activate it. Very difficult to use with different resolutions and things. So hyperlinks are sort of going out the window a bit, but they're useful reference tools now to instantly jump to your reference. The scroll bar, another thing. Scroll bars, obviously to go down your web pages. However, you want to try and avoid it these days because most people don't scroll when they're looking at websites. Do you scroll?
Yes.
You do. I know you would, Laura, but my point is, how many people would go to a website and go, oh, there's the information I need, and not really search further down? And what if you went on your phone and you had to scroll? Yeah, so you're sort of like flicking through. It gets hard to actually find information too. So scroll bars are quite clumsy ways to allow users to get through information on the website. And in fact, scroll bars are almost automatic anyway. If you've just got a static page, it's really big, your browser's going to give you a scroll bar instantly. If you're putting in embedded information with a scroll bar inside it, that's starting to sound a bit annoying. In fact, you're getting, yep. That's one of the problems. It's old school. Yep.
Also, it makes it a pain when you're using the wheel. It only scrolls down like one. It doesn't.
Yep.
There's two.
There can be that, yep.
Hey.
Menus or drop-down lists, as they call it in the syllabus. I don't know why. Yeah. I mean, that just, it allows your users to see what topic area you jump into, and it's pretty much like a menu bar. And of course, buttons are quite popular now. These two last navigation tools are probably the most important now, mainly because mobile devices, yeah. It's far easier to hit a little menu that collapses out. You've probably seen these in the mobile websites where it has a main menu. You hit one of the menu items, it opens up the sub-menu. And just sort of concertines like that. That's the way they work now. And buttons are good too, because they're visually appealing. They can graphically represent what you're clicking on. And they can show their activity too. But so can menus. I already mentioned, I already answered that. Damn, I should have that question first. So with the increase in smart devices, what's the best options for navigation on a website online? We sort of talked about that. But what you've got to remember is we don't have a rollover anymore. With a touch screen, you don't get rollovers. So all that, remember how I showed you the rollover effect in Flash? It's sort of redundant in a way. You can't do it. You're literally going to go click on it. So in some way, websites have become a little more static than they used to be. Just because you've lost that functionality of rollover. Now, for some reason, they've still got in the syllabus, animated text. Obviously, you can have your animations as you know, animations using Flash videos or Shockwave files or whatever you want to do there. But you can have HTML animated text as well. My question to you, though, is how appropriate is it? You're looking for a PowerPoint.
Yes.
I think the closest is over there. Or, no, there's one under there.
I'll just write a page.
Okay. How appropriate is animated text? Not really. As you can see here, I decided I'd go to this website. And we're talking about websites. It's great, isn't it? The world's worst website ever. It's not that bad. Yeah, your sort of website, Kerry.
Oh my god. It's
Great.
It's great, isn't it?
So take it away.
I'm fast, sir.
Is it just supposed to be like annoying?
Yes. Yes.
So this doesn't actually serve a purpose?
It's serving its purpose. It's showing you a bad website. It's showing you,
But
I'm faster, I'm fast, I'm the fastest. Can you actually read that text? I mean, this sort of ticker tape animation stuff went out in the 90s, to be honest. It's very early website tools. I don't know why it's in syllabus. I'd even wonder why you would do it. Can anyone think of a good reason to animate text? If you carry, it's pretty. Yeah. Any other good reasons?
You're turning it into a picture.
Maybe, yeah, you're morphing into something. But we're no longer really talking about animating text. That's the thing. So you can see it's a bit redundant.
So they still use it on Tumblr blogs.
What's that?
They still use it on Tumblr blogs.
Do they?
Yeah.
Nice. But the only thing I can imagine is ticker taping a lot of information across a static page is probably the only reason you use it. So similar to on television when you're watching the news and they're giving you the highlights running underneath. That might work.
So,
Yeah.
animated text be animation or text?
And then to that.
It's an animation, but what we're animating is the text itself. So it's not a graphic being animated, it's literally the text, font type. You can change all those things in HTML. There is animation capabilities within HTML. You just saw it, that I'm faster, going across. So it's an unusual thing to see these days. The last sort of text aspect we have to cover on the internet is the advent of PDFs, or portable document files. The whole purpose of the PDF was to cross platforms. That's why it was created. It just meant that you didn't need a bit of software like Word or I'm trying to think of the other ones. Sort of iWork, I guess, for the Apple ones. But you didn't need to own the software to share documents across the internet. And that was the whole purpose to it. So Adobe created it and gave the free Adobe Acrobat Reader to go alongside it. So anyone could look at these bits of text. And that was the main purpose. Now, it did have a few other features. It did allow for secured content. You used be able to really copy and paste the text out of it that easily. They could put passwords on it. There's a whole lot of features there. Let me just grab that door, that'd be great. That secured it. However, if you have Acrobat these days, that's all gone out the door because now you can convert it back into editable text. Because I think that's what frustrated a lot of people was, yeah, that's great, you're giving me a PDF that I can't change if I need to. It also allowed for online forms and things like that as well. But the main purpose of it is that top part there. It's independent of applications. There's a free piece of software on every platform you can imagine. And that's text on the internet.